We're going to recap the film Alien Earth, a science fiction horror series by Noah Hawley, which is part of the Alien film franchise. This series itself is set 2 years before the events of the film Alien in 1978, or in other words, it takes place between the timeline of Alien Covenant and Alien, with the events occurring in the year 2120. Now, as of the making of this video, the series is still on its 3rd episode. That's why now we're going to do a brief recap up to the 3rd episode only. Before we start, let's first get to know the 5 major corporations that control Earth and are also involved in space colonization. They are Weyland-Yutani, Prodigy, Lynch, Dynamic, and Threshold. Weyland-Yutani is the largest company, known for its involvement in colonization, mining, and synthetic development. Their area of control covers all of North and South America, as well as the entire planets Mars and Saturn. Next is Prodigy, a powerful new company founded by Boy Cavalier, known for his innovative work in creating hybrids, synthetic bodies with human consciousness. Their area of control covers all of Asia up to the border between Russia and Mongolia, including sub-Saharan Africa, all of Oceania and Australia, as well as Greenland and Iceland. Third is Lynch, a major company about which little is known regarding its specialization. Nevertheless, their area of control covers the entire territory of modern Russia. There's also Dynamic, a company that hasn't been highlighted much in this series, but they control North Africa and the Middle East, from the western border of Turkey to the eastern border of Afghanistan, as well as most of the territory on the moon. And finally, there's Threshold, whose product specifications are still unknown. Their area of control includes Scandinavia and Europe, stretching from the Caucasus Mountains to the Turkish border, as well as the British Isles, such as England, Ireland, Scotland, and also Wales. With their respective advancements, all these companies are competing to control all assets, including finding ways to unlock the secret of immortality for humanity. There are 3 methods that have already been tried and just recently created. The first is the creation of a group of humans enhanced cybernetically, known as cyborgs. The second is beings with artificial or synthetic intelligence. And the third is synthetic beings combined with human consciousness, known as hybrids. So, the first episode opens in the year 2120, where a Class C space research vessel owned by the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, called the USCSS Maginot, is seen approaching Earth after a 65-year expedition to obtain alien specimens, one of which is a facehugger. After their long journey, the ship's crew then awaken from their stasis sleep in the cryogenic chamber. From there, they start to relax while talking about the 5 major corporations that now rule the world, including Weyland-Yutani, the company they currently work for. The crew is actually aware that they are carrying many dangerous specimens on their ship, but of course they can only obey Weyland-Yutani, the company that has full rights over the vessel. Meanwhile, on Earth, the Prodigy Corporation runs its research center on an island called Neverland. At this research center, there is a child named Mercy who is suffering from a severe illness. The plan is for Mercy to become the first hybrid subject in which her consciousness will later be transferred into an adult synthetic body, and at the same time, her name will be changed to Wendy. With her new body, Wendy is now trying to adapt. Not only her consciousness but also her strength has changed, as with this synthetic body, Wendy seems to possess power beyond that of an ordinary human. With the help of her synthetic mentor named Curse, Wendy then begins to question whether her new body is safe because after all, Wendy's consciousness is still that of a child inside an adult-sized body. From there, Wendy is then asked to help supervise several other children who are also going to be turned into hybrids just like her. Everything Wendy does is, of course, under the supervision of Boy Cavalier, the owner of the Prodigy company. Meanwhile, out in space, the Maginot ship experiences a system malfunction that endangers its navigation, all caused by a cyborg named Maro, which has now put the ship on a collision course with Earth. With the system damaged, several specimens were released, including an adult Xenomorph that managed to kill most of the Maginot crew. The ship eventually crashed in Prodigy's city, called New Siam. This is where Wendy's human brother Hermit works as a medical officer in Prodigy's military. In response to the crash of the alien ship, Hermit and the Prodigy forces moved in to evacuate civilian victims, including checking on those inside the ship. But what they didn't know was that there were many dangerous specimens already loose on board. Meanwhile, Maro, a security officer who survived, is seen heading toward the cryo room, where he discovers that all the Maginot crew have died in the incident. Upon learning that the Prodigy forces have boarded the ship, Maro tries to send a distress signal to the Weyland-Yutani Corporation while informing them that all the cargo they were carrying has disappeared. Upon hearing news of the Weyland-Yutani ship crashing in his territory, the boss of Prodigy, Boy Cavalier, immediately claims that everything on board the Maginot now belongs to Prodigy. From there, he orders Curse, Wendy, and the other hybrids to assist the Prodigy troops in their search, while also testing their abilities. Aboard the ship, Maro, who intends to inspect the cargo, moves out and encounters two Prodigy soldiers. Maro manages to detain the two soldiers in one of the rooms, but when Maro leaves them, the two soldiers end up dead after being attacked by an insect-like creature.
Knife. Some kind of big-ass bug. Come on. Get up! Come on, we need to stand up. It's me! Oi! Oi! Boss!
On the other hand, Hermit and his friends, who were searching for victims inside the wreckage of the ship that crashed into an apartment building, were suddenly startled by the appearance of a Xenomorph trying to attack them, causing Hermit to become separated from his friends. Meanwhile, on Neverland Island, Boy Cavalier informs his employee named Sylvia that he will soon expand the hybrid project with the goal of enabling humans to compete with artificial intelligence. However, if you look at his deepest desire, Boy actually just wants to create someone smarter than himself within one of his hybrid creations, with Wendy as his main target, who will later be given additional abilities to realize his dream. So, in the city of Newsome, the hybrids led by Curse arrive in the city, where they are then taken to the control room to check the situation inside the building through the surveillance cameras. With her unique abilities, Wendy manages to access the surveillance camera system, where she then discovers the location of her sibling, Hermit, who is currently on the 65th floor.
What is she doing?
What floor is this? 65?
Wendy? Slightly. Go with her.
Boy, realizing just how extraordinary his hybrid creation was, then appeared happy. He even refused the request from Weyland-Yutani, represented by Miss Yutani, to secure the cargo from the Maginot ship that had crashed in the Prodigy area. Feeling greatly advantaged, Boy then warned Weyland-Yutani that any attack on his territory would be considered an act of hostility. Meanwhile, the hybrids, except for Wendy, who had entered earlier, now arrived at one of the corridors of the Maginot ship. Here, they encountered a cocoon, as well as another dangerous creature that had previously killed two Prodigy soldiers.
Whoa, gross.
Now back to Hermit, who previously escaped from the Xenomorph's pursuit and is now on one of the floors of a luxury apartment. Here he meets a soldier named Burgerville. But unfortunately, just as the two of them were urging the residents to evacuate, the Xenomorph suddenly appeared and killed Burgerville, as well as slaughtering all the residents who had refused to be evacuated. However, unexpectedly, Hermit was saved by Maro, who arrived and electrocuted the Xenomorph. But since Maro's mission was only to secure all the specimens, he was forced to electrocute Hermit as well, knocking him unconscious. While Maro was taking the Xenomorph away, he was stopped by several Prodigy soldiers who were suspicious of Maro's actions. However, because they wasted too much time, the creature eventually regained consciousness, which then led to the Prodigy soldiers falling victim to its ferocity. Meanwhile, Hermit, who had just regained consciousness after fainting, met Wendy, who had also arrived at the same place along with her friend named Slightly. Now, when Hermit saw Wendy, he didn't recognize her at all because Hermit didn't yet know that his sister Mercy had transferred and become a hybrid. In the middle of their conversation, Curse suddenly asked Wendy and Slightly to go to the front of the ship to secure a cargo containing a very dangerous specimen. On the way there, Wendy then revealed her true identity to Hermit, who was immediately shocked and couldn't believe that Wendy was his sister who had died. Wendy explained that she did it on purpose when Boy Cavalier came, bringing a hope that could restore all of their lives. In short, the three of them then arrived at the front of the ship, where they apparently found several Xenomorph eggs. Wendy and the others were then ordered by Curse to guard the eggs until the team from Prodigy arrived, but while they were watching over the eggs, Hermit was suddenly dragged away and abducted by a Xenomorph.
Stay here! Look at me!
Meanwhile, Curse, who is currently with the hybrids, is in one of the rooms analyzing each specimen they found. Besides Wendy, the other 4 hybrid children are named Toothless, Smee, Nibs, and Curly. While observing one of the extraterrestrial specimens, Nibs asked Curly why they weren't allowed to use their real human names. What's more, he and his 4 friends were all named after Peter Pan characters. But what really made Nibs curious was why Mercy got to have the character named Wendy. Not long after, Boy Cavalier ordered Curse to bring all the specimens they had found to Neverland Island, even though Curse and Sylvia both voiced their objections. However, despite that, Boy remained adamant about securing the specimens, including bringing back their valuable asset, Wendy. Next, on a different side, Wendy, who had been searching all this time, finally found Hermit, who was trapped inside a shipping container. But just as she rescued her sibling, the same Xenomorph suddenly appeared again.
I'm a soldier. You're a kid. Get out of here. What are you doing?
Joe, the door! Get to the door! Now!
Mercy! Mercy! Mercy!
In that battle, Wendy and Hermit worked together to defeat the creature. They succeeded, with Wendy killing the Xenomorph. Unfortunately, the fight left both of them with very serious injuries. Meanwhile, Slightly, who was still at the Xenomorph egg site, then met Smee, who asked him to return. In the middle of their conversation, they were suddenly approached by Maro, who told both of them to stay away from the egg. During the interrogation, Maro became suspicious of the childish behavior displayed by Smee and Slightly. Even though both of them appeared to be adults, just like Wendy, they also originated from the consciousness of a child. Now, because he thought these two people were synthetics, Maro deliberately downloaded all the data about the specimen from the Maginot ship's system, secretly implanting the device he had just downloaded into Slightly to secure all the information. From there, Maro was forced to flee after Kurtz arrived and demanded that he surrender immediately. Sometime later, the Prodigy team finally managed to secure the Maginot ship, after which they all returned to Neverland Island. Upon arrival, Hermit immediately began the operation, while Wendy was cared for by the Sylvia family. Next, Boy Cavalier, having obtained what he wanted, proceeded to examine all the specimens they had found, one of which was a Xenomorph egg that would be extremely sensitive if approached by a living creature. Curse, who had already learned about how dangerous facehuggers and Xenomorphs were from the data he studied on the Maginot ship, quickly moved Boy out of that room for his own safety. Meanwhile, after their encounter with Maro, Smee and Slightly were now being interrogated by Boy's right-hand man, Atom. What is it that Maro actually wants? Atom explained that cameras had been implanted in the eyes of every hybrid so that the Prodigy, especially Boy Cavalier, could monitor their movements. Now, when Slightly was threatened by Maro earlier, Atom was curious about the last words spoken before the cyborg escaped. Hearing this, Slightly then replied that Maro was simply asking when a machine stops being a machine. Meanwhile, Maro himself was apparently in the middle of Museum City. While trying to avoid Prodigy security, Maro managed to contact Weyland-Yutani and spoke directly with Miss Yutani. During the conversation, Maro was asked to return immediately, but since he felt he was already here, Maro ultimately chose to try to take back all the specimens from Prodigy's hands. Meanwhile, Boy, who was in his room, was approached by Curly, who complained about Boy's attitude toward Wendy. Here, Curly genuinely felt that he was indeed the most exceptional hybrid among all of them, and with unwavering confidence, he truly believed that one day he could ultimately surpass Boy in significantly influencing humanity. Okay, back to Maro, who is now contacting Slightly through a device implanted in his neck which surprises Slightly when he realizes it. Maro, who already knows that Slightly is a hybrid, then tries to take advantage of his human consciousness by attempting to befriend him. Next, in the operating room, Curse, Toothless, and Curly are seen dissecting a xenomorph egg to extract a facehugger. The plan is to implant the larva from inside the facehugger into Hermed's lungs, part of which had been removed during surgery due to damage sustained in a previous incident. On the other hand, Wendy, who suddenly wakes up, feels something that seems to be coming from the xenomorph egg. Because as soon as the egg was opened, Wendy also felt an incredible pain. Alright, for now, we'll stop here. We'll continue in the next few episodes once the series has been released. So, just be patient, Kui. Well then, thank you to everyone who watched, and see you again next time. You all are awesome. Ciao.